The following is a 7 Everyday Hero special presentation from 7 News.
A state of war has existed between the United States and the Japanese Empire.
You know, World War II was basically won by a bunch of teenagers.
There is no blinking at the fact that our people, our territory, and our interests are in grave danger.
Our officer told us 1 out of 3 wouldn't come back.
This form of treachery shall never again endanger us.
I never had a weapon in my hand until I went in the Marine Corps. We had to be young and strong to do what we did. Each day, of course, was the thought of getting killed.
With confidence in our armed forces, we will gain the inevitable triumph, so help us God.
It looks like such an insignificant island, 4 miles long, 2 miles wide, hundreds of miles from anywhere in the Pacific Ocean. Yet what happened on Iwo Jima 65 years ago would define the final months of World War II. It was as though whoever controlled the island controlled the future of the war. And Iwo Jima's remote location made it valuable to the United States. Taking the island would help shrink thousands of miles of ocean between the U.S. and Japan, placing American forces on the doorstep of the enemy. Halfway between Saipan and Tokyo, Iwo Jima was directly under the flight path of U.S. bombers heading to Japan. The island would make an ideal base for American bombers on their way to ending the war in the Pacific. But the Japanese were determined not to give up Iwo Jima.
Japanese had fighters there, and then they had communications to Japan telling them the B-29s was coming.
Al Jennings was there, as were many Coloradans, just teenagers, barely out of high school.
Who knew where Iwo Jima was, or what it was?
Today, the survivors of the brutal fight are good friends, sharing a common bond. Back in February 1945, they didn't know each other, but they know well what each man endured on Iwo Jima.
Before we got to the beach, I remember seeing a boat that next to us had been hit.
Don Whipple was just 17 when he joined the Marine Corps.
It went up in the air, and guys and arms and everything was flying all around, and rifles and whatnot. And I thought, man, these people are out to kill you.
When I landed that day, the beach was chaos. There were people and equipment everywhere. Anything that could get stuck in the sand was stuck in the sand, including me.
Bob White joined the Marines right after Pearl Harbor.
When I first hit the beach, and it was littered everywhere, dead Marines and Jeeps and everything blowed up. I thought I'd never get out of there alive.
Remarkably, they did live through it, to see Iwo Jima another day. But getting back to that remote island is no easy task. It's not open for tourism. The Japanese control the island and would rather forget the defeat they suffered on Iwo Jima.
Those are realities, and you pass through that.
For these Colorado veterans, it took 3 years of planning, with the help of the Greatest Generations Foundation, as well as special permission from the Japanese government to return to Iwo Jima for a final tour.
It'll be interesting to see the difference between then and now.
After spending 36 days on Iwo Jima in 1945, Joe Weinmeier refused a Purple Heart, saying too many others had died for it.
When it first came up that we were going to come over, I had kind of had my doubts whether I wanted to go, you know.
Hurry up, man, we gotta go.
Well, I know the
Time
bus
to
is
go.
waiting out there. I don't want to hold up, you know. I'm a dairy farmer. I got to have that breakfast by 5 o'clock.
It's a trip worthy of dressing up.
Yes, sir, man. That's really jingling on you this
How
morning.
about that?
All
A return to Iwo Jima is a privilege for these veterans and some college students, along for a history lesson of a lifetime.
I'm kind of excited and nervous, mixed emotions, I guess.
Ready to go. This will be my third invasion of Iwo. Here we are at the airport, getting ready to go to Iwo Jima.
At the airport in Okinawa, it seemed they had just enough time to send a quick note home.
Great feelings within my heart, both for you and for what we're about to do.
But what they were really about to do is wait.
It looked like it was kind of all called off, and you thought, well, this is kind of the Marine Corps history. Yeah. You find that you're all ready to stand around and wait.
The jetliner assigned to the Colorado vets was taken away, sent to help with relief efforts following the earthquake in Haiti. And a backup plane had mechanical trouble.
I said, whatever works out, Lord, I'm happy with this, but I wanted to go. I was feeling badly.
The veterans went back to their hotel that night, wondering if getting to Iwo Jima in 1945 was easier than trying to revisit the island. Although a half a world away, their situation caught the attention of top politicians and the media.
One of their last wishes is to return to Iwo Jima.
So the Japanese government says that was your option. You missed it. Too bad. You can't go.
The next day, a Marine C-130 was made available.
I got to give it to our congressman that went to bat for us and got us there.
It's so comforting to know that the United States just rallied around these heroes and said, no, they've got to go.
But the window of opportunity was closing fast.
Guys, we've got 30 minutes to get on the plane. We've got a plane. We're going to, all of us, and all of us are going to go. We got a C-130, and we're all going to go.
We all scrambled, just like we as teenagers again, to get on that plane and go. We didn't care what kind of plane.
First we'll fight for right and freedom, and to keep our honor clean.
While the trip was back on, it was made clear it would not be easy.
Hey mate, if something happened today, are you do not resuscitate, or do you want us to resuscitate?
Actually,
Resuscitate.
no, maybe it doesn't.
That's a hard question to answer, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's easier than last time. Nobody gave me that option last time.
Yeah.
I'm Dr. Derby. If you have any problems at all, please come and find me. This is HM2 Kirks. This is Mike Corman. He's outstanding. All right, we'll take care of all your medical needs on the flight.
The veterans, students, and support staff tried to settle in for a flight that would last more than 3 hours in the back of a noisy cargo plane. The veterans were left with little to do, but think about their return to an island they've never been able to forget. Few veterans are comfortable reliving their war experiences, yet these heroes were about to return to the very spot in the Pacific that has stirred a lifetime of pain and pride. Iwo Jima, a final tour, was about to begin.
I looked out that window and saw that island, and I just lost it.
The Japanese island of Iwo Jima is a lonely place in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. The last time these Colorado veterans were here, They were just teenagers. It was February 1945.
It's hard to believe that I'm back here 65 years later.
Track down when it's missing, everybody see.
Colorado veterans who fought for their lives and their country.
Well, you got that old survivor guilt, you know. One of my good buddies in Denver died last night. So it's kind of multiplied, and I'm thinking about the people that encouraged me to take this trip.
Returning to battlefields past is nothing new to veterans, but Iwo Jima is like no other historic battlefield. There is no visitor center, no tourism, no easy way to get here.
I keep telling myself that I don't have anything that I need closure from, but after I get there, I may change my mind.
Sumo 213 on a lock, clear to land. Flaps are 50, gear 3 down on the right. Bill, I know the center and left. Light check standard and on, 4-lane checklist complete, clear to land. 5. 50, 40, 30, 20, 10. Yoke by yoke. All 4.
Iwo Jima was the scene of one of the bloodiest battles of World War II. The island may be small, but it's one of the world's largest graveyards.
First thing I did, I knelt down and I asked God to bless all the guys that lost their life.
And there were many. More than 6,000 Americans killed, nearly 18,000 wounded. The beaches are quiet now. But walking through Iwo Jima's eerie black sand.
You know, so much time has gone by, it's hard to imagine that you went through all this stuff and survived it on top of it.
A lot of memories. A lot of memories. It looks so peaceful now, and it looks so horrible 65 years ago.
Relentless shelling of Iwo Jima began on February 17, 1945, as U.S. warships surrounded the island.
They were just giving broadside salvos into that island.
All you could see was ships. I mean, as far as you could see was nothing but ships. And I thought, oh, am I glad I'm on this side.
Then battleships had pounded that thing so long it just made mush out of everything, and so there was no grass at all, no plant life.
And I thought, my God, the way they bombarded that island, we won't have to go in, they're going to sink it.
What U.S. military leaders didn't know was Japanese forces used an intricate system of caves and tunnels. The enemy wasn't just on Iwo Jima, they were in it.
Never hardly saw Japanese. They were all in a hole somewhere or in a cave.
It was just a small island, 7 square miles, you know, and it's nothing but a flat rock. We had no idea that there was over 22,000 Japanese on that island.
You look at the island and think you'd clean it up in probably a week. Didn't happen.
We all figured it was going to be a piece of cake, but we were totally surprised when we got there and realized that they were waiting for us and they were prepared.
The Japanese had been preparing for this invasion for years. A campaign thought to require only a few days, instead lasted 36 days. The U.S. wasn't taking any chances. When D-Day arrived, 3 U.S. Marine divisions hit the beaches. More than 80,000 men.
We could hear the machine gun shells hitting that ramp. Ping, 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 you know, and you could see tracers going over top of it.
They quickly found out how fortified Iwo Jima truly was. As the boats carrying U.S. Marines hit the beaches, the Japanese came out of those hidden caves and opened fire.
When the ramp went down and I seen what was going on and the immense firepower and just bullets and shells flying all over, I honestly didn't think I was going to make it.
My first thought was I'd never get off there alive.
They opened up, everything broke loose.
If the gunfire wasn't enough, Iwo Jima's volcanic sand made it nearly impossible to move quickly, leaving Marines sitting ducks.
It was like quicksand. You step and you're almost up to your ankles in this stuff.
We scrambled up the beach and you take one step and fall back 2 on that volcanic ash.
It was black sand on the beach and black sand terraces, and when you went up the terrace, put your foot down and you slid back a step and a half. So it took forever to get up to that 15-foot terrace.
And that volcanic ash, you couldn't keep a foxhole, it just keep caving in on you.
It also stopped some of our tanks and jeeps in their tracks, rendering them useless.
The chaos and the destruction and the boats upside down, bodies everywhere and all the firing going on.
Iwo Jima was the 4th major battle in the Pacific for Jim Blaine, and it proved to be the most difficult.
For a young guy, it's made quite an impression. I was just 19 at the time.
After 13 days of intense fighting, Jim was seriously wounded. Only recently did he discover even deeper wounds.
Hit with PTSD 2 years ago, and this is something I didn't think that would help me at all.
What's your name, sir? I'll just get your name.
Jim Blaine. I didn't think I'd get through it this far, but I have.
Thank you, sir. Welcome. Get a map.
The mortar went off in front of me and knocked me down, and I got up and fell down again, and Captain Dawson says, "Whip, you've been hit." I hadn't realized it.
Don Whipple was also wounded and evacuated to a hospital ship headed to Guam when he and another Marine got an idea.
We said, we got to get off this ship. And we don't want to go to Guam and lose the best friends we ever had in our life here and let them be over here while we're sitting under a palm tree drinking lemonade in Guam.
Whipple's plan would require grabbing a fallen Marine's uniform to invade Iwo Jima a second time.
There was a big pile of everything they'd taken off of the guys that had been killed and wounded. Just everything you needed. We went ashore, and we're still AWOL as far as that hospital ship is concerned, I guess, because we didn't ask anybody. We knew they'd turn us down. So we landed on the same beach we landed on the first time, Green Beach.
Once back on the island, he asked about the Marine who took his place.
Bob Hepperly was his name, and Bob was kind of raised up out of his foxhole there so he could hear, and apparently the Japanese raised up out of a spider trap and put a bullet through his head. I wonder if Bob Hepperly didn't die in my place, possibly there, you know?
I think I was just 18 when we landed there.
Shortly after hitting the beach, Al Jennings was granted a special request to search for someone he hadn't seen since the war began.
And I found out his outfit was right next to ours in the 3rd Division, 9th Marines, 3rd Division, and I got permission to go look for him. Well, found out he was out looking for me.
Al was determined to keep a promise with his older brother.
He kept telling me the Marine Corps wouldn't look at me, you know. And of course I was too scrawny. And I told him when he left, I said, "Oh, big brother," I said, "next time I see you, I'm going to be wearing the same uniform."
The brothers found each other in, of all places, the beaches of Iwo Jima.
We got off. I figured we was two of the miracle brothers that got off without a scratch.
I was young and strong, so they figured, Weinmeier, you're going to be the flamethrower man.
Joe Weinmeier's main objective, aim for those caves filled with snipers.
Well, I never knew what they had inside of them. All I was worried about is burning them out.
Joe's trip back to Iwo Jima gave him his first glimpse inside those island fortresses.
You can readily see how fortified this place was.
A flamethrower's life expectancy wasn't long, especially carrying heavy, flammable tanks.
Me with a 70-pound flamethrower on my back and then walking in this stuff, it tires you out in a hurry, you know. But you had to keep going.
Joe kept going all the way to the highest point on Iwo Jima, Mount Suribachi. It towered 546 feet above the beach and was crawling with Japanese. Suribachi had to be taken to claim the island.
It's full of caves and bunkers, you know. Not obvious like this. They were dug into the mountain, you know. But you burn one out and then you move on up to the next one.
Taking Mount Suribachi was a pivotal moment in the battle and a defining moment in American history.
There hadn't been a foreign flag flown over Japanese territory since the 12th century, and it was pretty tough on them when they saw that flag flying from Mount Suribachi.
The famous flag raising not only gave hope to the Marines on Iwo Jima, who had yet to fully secure the island, it also boosted morale back home.
There were cheers over the whole island, and these spread out into the sea where the ships started using their klaxons and their whistles. It was really something I'll never forget.
Today, on Mount Suribachi, there is a modest memorial to the Americans who died on the island.
This is sacred soil. We still got guys here.
Makes me sad because that was the cream of the American youth.
Today's young Marines are honored to meet the very men who won the Battle of Iwo Jima and understand this is hallowed ground.
I have a chevron. It's a corporal chevron. It was one of my friends. He was killed in Afghanistan, so I brought it here to kind of pay my respects to him, you know, for the many Marines lost here. That it means a lot. So, Jim.
Wherever you want, buddy.
Wherever you want, Jim. Simplified. It's true what they say. These guys truly are the greatest generation. There's so much we can learn from them.
Right.
This trip was also about creating new, positive memories.
Who else is going to hit golf balls off of Mount Suribachi?
The last time these Colorado veterans were on Iwo Jima, they were holding rifles, not golf clubs.
Hitting that ball off of Suribachi was the thrill of my life.
This takes the cake. I'm glad we got to come back.
This final tour of Iwo Jima revealed how much the island changed and how little the veterans' memories have faded.
It looked entirely different this time. It was green, and the time we were there, it was nothing but an evil little cinder with matchsticks left of the vegetation. It was a terrible island when I saw it the first time.
I felt I was going to be really emotionally shook up when I got there, and it was just amazed me. I still haven't really work that all out, I guess.
Well, we finally got set foot after 65 years, back where we fought as teenagers, you know. And it kind of got to me for a while.
Once I got to the top of Suribachi, and I could stand and contemplate where things had been, it started coming back to me. Things that happened here, a buddy I left lying there.
It's just amazing that we survived. And thank God we did. Thank God I did.
When U.S. forces landed on this remote volcanic island in 1945, it had been a part of the Japanese homeland for more than 600 years. After a month of fierce fighting, freedom began to take hold in the Pacific. And it gave a grateful nation one of the more inspirational images of World War II. But not before more than 6,000 U.S. forces died here. Top brass at the time said it was the most costly and savage battle in the history of the Marine Corps. Of the 21,000 Japanese on Iwo Jima, only 1,000 survived. Seeing the U.S. military's resolve, Japanese leaders admitted, "We are doomed." It was a costly victory, made possible by a selfless generation of Americans.
I will always remember the sacrifices that so many of the young men made. I was a kid when I was going in, but as soon as I hit the beach and started up the beach, I became a man.